And we have always thought that we needed to connect through the cloud of globalism that homogenizes everything, where we could have always connected through our roots in difference. Okay. Hi, AAD. My name is Juan Pablo Garcia Sosa, or Juan, or Juan Pablo, or JPEX. I was born in Colombia, I grew up in Bogota, and I've been the past 12, 13 years between there and Berlin and the tropics. Now here, together with you, conducting this small conversation. I'm one of the two co-curators of this this edition of Transmediale, together with Nema Gidere from Kenya. And this year's Transmediale is called By the Mango Belt and the Tunnel Road, Compassing, Metaphoring, Protocoling. And the name has a wink to the One Belt, One Road initiative that often presents itself. And for this, we believe strongly that it's not enough to diversify or change the ingredients or the data sets of our systems if we keep cooking only a la French or a la Greek philosophy. But we could rather we shall instead shake the recipes or the models. That is ultimately how all these different ingredients or elements are combined, and it's the relational grammar or syntaxis, the sensibility of how you combine them and think of them as symbiotic beings like curcuma and pepper that combine, then they release things. So we are very interested in infrastructuring, thinking of it not only in terms of concrete, but more liquidity, and how infrastructures are not only at the domain of governments, nations, and corporations, but they could also be grounded in relations, in communities, in different scales and different forms and shapes that are maybe more intangible. So other ways of coming together and net render other realities. In Berlin, we have contributions by speakers, participants, artists that are not only contributing one time with a talk and then go out, they're standing for the full festival. They're giving one high tide focused schedule contribution, and then they are sticking around in the spaces for low tide, low key, Shinyamaji underwaters, exchange around drinks, around food, and this is where we find that our parallel program gets more generative. Our program is made not only by speakers, but as much also by visitors, because we want multilateral spaces of exchange and not only speaker, audience, auditorium dichotomies. This means that we are not only interested in the speakers we have, but more of a resonance sound system with different components where also visitors can be transceivers or amplifiers or resistors, and the way they are combining these different constellations. So that's why we have provided different hanging structures in the space, different installations that are not meant to be works, but that are works that could host other worlds and that could be occupied, that can be also hosting visions by other participants. So we want to envision this festival beyond the dates in Berlin that usually were more of a conference, and think of different gatherings that take place extended over the year, more as a carrier net of practitioners that come together IRL and URL online and physically, presentially. So for this we have formed different so-called research netting groups. Netting, that is not networking, perhaps net resting, different parts of the tropics to look at ways of netting, combined with situated knowledges and practices that could be translated then into technological protocols potentially, or formats. And in these different netting groups, we also explore transport devices, or thinking and reflecting while we are in a dhow in the Swahili coast. A dhow is a boat that goes from the Indian subcontinent, so from South Asia, all the way to Zanzibar. So in this dhow we can have reflections on other kinds of DAOs as decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAO Jones, or different ways of DAOisms. And this is the way we think we are metaphoring. Because metaphor comes from the Greek and it means transport. And if we were in Athens, in Greek, we will see transport tracks with the word metaphor written in it. And this is because metaphor means transport. So a highway will be a poem full of metaphors flowing from one way to another. But again, metaphors can be not only Greek or French, they could be also Filipino jeepneys, Kenyan matatus, Panamanian Diablos Rojos, Colombian chivas, Pakistani trucks, Thai tuk-tuks. We would love that visitors feel curiosity, that feel energized, that feel imaginative. I think that's what we are most interested about, again, to contribute to an imaginative abundance, and that things will be differently, and that we have to some extent also some sense of agency, and it's not only about nations and corporations, but that infrastructuring could be done in different scales, and that we could shake the models of our systems and connect through our roots to change our root codes. And we have always thought that we needed to connect through the cloud of globalism that homogenizes everything, where we could have always connected through our roots in difference. So I think we like people to remind people that we can be different and they can be imaginative, and that will be it.